In a small town hall in Shreveport, Louisiana, an 8-year-old girl named Lily asked a question that stopped a crowd in its tracks. It was a question so simple, yet so profound, that it led Donald Trump to share a deeply personal story about loss, faith, and redemption. The church fellowship hall, typically buzzing with the sound of potlucks and Bible study, now held an atmosphere that felt different, heavier somehow, as the crowd prepared to hear from the former president. At the front of the room stood Donald Trump, known for his bold persona and unwavering confidence, yet tonight, he was remarkably subdued. The audience, a mix of local families, retirees, and curious residents, sat silently as he discussed his usual topics: policies, achievements, the future of America. But there was something missing in the energy. The crowd's applause was tepid, the excitement absent. Then, there was Lily. In a delicate flower-patterned dress, Lily gripped a well-worn leather Bible to her chest, a gift from her late grandmother. Her mother had quietly whispered to her before the event, "Only ask if you're brave enough, and only if you truly mean it." Lily, her heart racing, had spent weeks rehearsing her question. She was ready. When the floor opened for questions, the line formed with eager adults, but Lily hesitated. Her legs felt like jelly, but when her mother nudged her, she knew it was her moment. As she approached the podium, the room quieted. Whispers rippled through the crowd at the sight of the young girl clutching the Bible. When her turn came, Trump, looking down at her with softened eyes, asked gently, "And what's your question, young lady?" Lily swallowed and, in a voice that trembled but stayed steady, asked, "Mr. Trump, what does God mean to you?" The room went silent. For a man used to quick responses and sharp rhetoric, this was a pause, an uncharacteristic moment of uncertainty. Trump stared at Lily, then down at the Bible she clutched. The air felt thick with anticipation. Finally, he spoke. "That's a big question," he said, his voice softer than usual. "It's not one I've always had the answer to." The crowd leaned in, sensing something real was unfolding. Trump, the man often associated with bravado, spoke of his own struggles with faith. "When I was about your age, I had a lot of questions too." He continued, his voice quieting. "My parents took me to church every Sunday, but I still wondered if God was even listening." He paused, looking into the crowd. "My father used to tell me that faith is like a ladder. You climb it one step at a time, and sometimes you're afraid you'll fall, but you keep climbing because there's something worth reaching for." The room listened intently, hanging on every word. For the first time, Trump wasn't speaking in his usual political tones, but with vulnerability, sharing his own uncertainty and doubts. "I've had times where I was angry at God, but I realized that faith isn't about always having the answers. It's about believing that there's something greater at work, even when you don't see the whole picture." Lily's eyes welled up with tears as she listened. Her small frame seemed to tremble as Trump spoke, and the crowd watched, moved by the rawness of the moment. His words had touched something deep within her, something she had long struggled to understand. "God, to me," Trump said, his voice steadying, "is the reason I keep going. He's the one who tells us to keep climbing, even when we feel like we're about to fall." Lily, her eyes brimming with tears, stood a little taller, clutching her grandmother's Bible tightly. The room, once full of political banter, now felt like a place of shared humanity. Trump, noticing her reaction, took a step away from the podium, his expression soft. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily," she whispered, her voice almost inaudible. "Lily, you're wiser than most adults I know," Trump said, smiling faintly. The room, which had been quiet for so long, erupted into applause, not for Trump, but for the moment itself. It was a moment of connection, of shared reflection on life, faith, and humanity. Then, as the applause subsided, Trump's tone shifted. He shared a deeply personal story about his late brother Fred, someone he had lost far too soon. When Fred passed away, Trump said, his voice faltering, "I was angry at God. I couldn't understand why someone so good had to leave. I turned away from God for a while." He continued, "But one night, I saw Fred's face in my mind and he told me, 'Don't be angry, Dawn. You've got work to do.'" Trump explained that in that moment, he realized that faith wasn't about understanding everything. It was about trusting there was a greater purpose, even in the face of pain and loss. Fred's purpose was to teach me that faith is about trusting in something bigger than ourselves, he said. Lily, her young face reflecting a wisdom beyond her years, listened intently. She understood now in a way she hadn't before. Trump turned to the crowd, his voice steady and firm once again. Faith doesn't show up in grand moments, he said. It's in the small ones, the times when someone asks a question like Lily's. It reminds us of what really matters.